And a good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Interim Director at WEIU TV and Radio. My guest today is the Director of Athletics here at Eastern Illinois University, Mr. Tom Michael. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you coming in. Last time I had you in, I was actually out with the sick. I had the flu that day, so it's good to talk sports again with you, and that's what we're going to do today. I guess the big thing on everybody's mind is you change football coaches, and Adam Cushing has come on board, and it seems like he's got just a whirlwind of coaches and talent, and really some good good vibes going around campus. So why don't we talk about Coach Cushing, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, it was really. I'm still excited. I think it's one of those things when you make the hire. Obviously, you're excited when you do something like that, but it seems like since January 2nd, when he and his staff got on campus, I'm just getting more excited about it, and we've got to wait till September before we play games. But spring ball starts this week. But that process went very well. Dr. Glassman helped support that, moving it along as quickly as we possibly could. He understood the necessity of that from a confidentiality standpoint with the candidates to ensure that we got the best pool, and the urgency for it from a recruiting and just a program standpoint was important.
When did you know during the process that Adam Cushing, I want to call him Matt for a second, Adam knew he was the one?
Early on, from conversations that I had with Pat Fitzgerald, with Jim Phillips, the athletic director up at Northwestern too, who I've had a relationship with for 30 years. So that really cued us into Adam and what he was and who he was about and things like that. But so he was at the top there pretty much through the process, and then it was just being able to spend some time with him on the phone, in person, and really making sure we did a great job of vetting some other really high quality candidates. And I think that's the other thing, Jeff, is this football job here at EIU. I heard this a couple different times through the process, it's just not an FCS job. This is a power FCS job. And 5 years ago, we've got the perfect example where Dino Babers is at. Yeah. And 5 years ago, he was here and did great things for our program, and now he's led Syracuse to a great 10-win season and a great recruiting class and so on and so forth. So it makes this job a really, really great job in the football head coaching world. And so we had a ton of candidates. So we just had to do our process of making sure that we vetted everybody and where we were at. And Adam just kept on staying at the top. And like I said, we really wanted to make sure that we hired a head football coach that could handle those responsibilities of being a head coach. And he has certainly checked all those boxes up to this point.
Now, do you have much say when he's assimilated as a staff, or do you let him kind of have that power? How does that work?
Yeah, I don't get into who needs to be on his staff. I don't think that that's fair for me to handcuff any of our coaches with who they want to be. They talk to us about them. They let us know who they are, what they are, and why they want to go in a certain direction. And our job at that point in time is to maybe make sure that they fully vetted all their candidates to bring in the best people. And I'll say that his staff that he's brought in, obviously very, very high IQ football wise, but they're great people. They work hard. I think if you follow our football program on social media, you can see how amped up they are and how active.
They posted the hat yesterday, the football green hat. It was so awesome.
I saw some comments on there that quit photoshopping. It's making us antsy about wanting that hat and everything like that. But it's they are very creative. And the other side of this is we've got 4 guys that have volunteered to come and be on his staff as volunteers. And it's something that helped make the program at Northwestern very successful. Is they had a lot of people that volunteer whatever the NCAA would allow. And Adam's got that process going too. And that doesn't hurt. For him to have 4 individuals that have said they want to come to Charleston, come to EIU, work with our football program, and not get paid anything because they want to experience that, it says about who he is and what kind of program we're going to have.
That's cool. Let's switch to basketball. We'll get back to football a little bit. But obviously, my timing was good having you on. I could say that. Pure luck here. But OVC, how happy were you when you watched I'm assuming you watched yesterday and saw that they got 2 OVC teams into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, just really ecstatic for our league. Just before I came over here, I stopped in Jay's office, and they're excited about it too. It's a really important piece. It hadn't been done two teams from our league since 1987, and I really didn't think that we should really say this the right way, that we're not necessarily a two-bid league. I mean, it just hasn't happened in 32 years, and it worked out well, obviously, for us with Murray beating Belmont. Belmont did what they're supposed to do. They scheduled right. They won the games they're supposed to. They checked those boxes that said, if we're going to be an at-large team, we're going to do the right things to get there. And I think the exciting piece is they play the play-in game.
Yeah.
So they're playing Temple. Both of them are 11 seeds. They've got a great chance to win that game. And then I look at it from an exposure standpoint and then a financial standpoint. And certainly both of those things are good. If Belmont's playing on Tuesday or Wednesday, I haven't seen.
I think they're Tuesday, I believe. I could be wrong. Yeah.
So they play Tuesday night. That's great for our league. Everybody's paying attention, and then if they get a win, that's even better yet. And then Murray's got a great chance, I think, against Marquette, and so it's good for OVC basketball.
And that should be one of the best games of the opening round. Murray and Marquette, two of the best players in the nation, and wow, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of points scored. I don't know a lot about defense, but even when we played at Marquette last year. We lost to them in overtime, and we put a lot of points on the board then too.
There you go. Spring Fling is coming up, your big fundraiser, April 6th. Going to be a little different. I was talking to Rich Moser. You're going to put a different twist on it. So talk about what we can expect for the Spring Fling.
Yeah, Spring Fling is our biggest and most important fundraiser that we have for Panther Athletics and the Panther Club. We are doing a little bit differently. It's going to be a plated meal, more sit down. We're really making sure that the focus is on the student athletes. What we're trying to enhance through this fundraiser, that student athlete experience is critical. And the people that have attended in the past, the people that will attend this year, and the support that they give to our student athletes is really important. I think if you follow EIU Athletics on social media, you see some of the videos that we've been putting out each week from our student athletes and what it means to be a student athlete here. And then we've got some coaches, obviously, that have been former student athletes, and now they're on our coaching staff, and what that means to them. And then we've got Ray McElroy is coming back, and he's going to MC the event.
He loves it down here.
Yeah, and just a super guy. And to have him back part of this program, I think is going to really be special too. So tickets are still available. You can call our office for that or go online. But we look forward to a great event again this year. We've got a lot of great items for donations. We've got we're going to have an app online to where you can bid on things as well. So it's gonna be a good event again this year.
Can you tease us with a couple of those items so people know what to expect?
Well, I think we've always had some really exciting items from what we've done with. We're fortunate in the athletic world
a little bit.
To be able to have Sean Payton with the Saints and Ryan Pace with the Bears and Joe Strom, who's a VP with the St. Louis Cardinals, and so those contacts certainly allow us to have some really cool items from those individuals.
All right, I have a kid that'll be a freshman in high school next year. He was at the game the other day with the girls' game when the kids came over, the women's game. Sorry, he said, "Dad," he goes, "I got to ask you something about Eastern." He goes, "When are we going to get the old Panther logos changed?" I promised him I would ask you. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but there's old Panther logos, I guess, in a couple spots.
Yeah, no, we still have it. I mean, there's a great big one on the middle of the football field.
Yeah, that's a little more expensive one.
Yeah, but there are some on the walls at Lance as well, and I think that those are all part of our branding process. I don't have an exact timeline for you, Jeff, but I would love to get them all changed out and flipped out too.
So I had to ask her. I would have gotten in trouble at home.
I understand that. But no, I think we're maybe 3 years in, maybe it's 4 now. I don't know. Time goes pretty quickly, but with the new logo and the new branding, and I think that's been really well received and has gone over well. And to kind of finish that process, we need to keep finding ways to get the older logo out so we can keep it modern.
I wanted to ask you about the branding. Obviously, that new Panther, the logo, it's really taken off. You see more kids wearing Panther stuff than I think ever before on this campus. And I was an Eastern grad, and been here in this area forever. I've never seen as much Eastern stuff that's being worn. But is it financially helping you on the back end too? It looks great to have it, but are you receiving a little bit of the money, or is that started coming in yet? Or
yeah, there's some royalties that come along with that, but it's not an extraordinarily
not difference
large
making
amount.
money.
No,
Okay.
no, not by any means. But I think that what you just said, it really excites me to hear that you have seen that more on campus and from kids wearing it, students wearing it. I think any time that we can do some things to help promote that school spirit piece, the fewer other school sweatshirts and T-shirts that we can see on campus, I think is better. I wish we had the means with T-shirts and sweatshirts that you could come in and bring somebody else's in, and we'd give you a new one.
Or in private school, they can just tell them they can't wear it, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But yeah, I think that just having something that this generation of students is excited about wearing and things like that, I think that's all part of what we have to try to get done.
Obviously, there's a big news out of Illinois. The NCAA team that got a bid, Bradley, got in a little trouble this weekend. Basically, the Peoria Journal-Star was given some information that they weren't promoting the brand well enough, and it really took it was a national story this weekend. Just your thoughts on what happened at Bradley with the Peoria Journal-Star.
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate because anytime our philosophy here is that we hope there's a partnership in what we're doing when we work with local media, whether that's you all here or with the newspaper or the televisions or whatever that might be. How can we have a partnership in this? And certainly, I hope that partnership wouldn't entail coming out and whatever the Bradley administration felt, or the Bradley basketball program, maybe that was more. It was just the basketball program that they felt like that wasn't going the right way. But if it's accurate and fair, as media members, you all have a job to do too. And I think that's where that relationship works, where at the end of the day, there's a respect on both sides that we all have jobs to do, and let's not make it personal in terms of what we're doing, but let's also make sure that if something needs to be said, then it needs to be said as well.
Yeah, or maybe they could have had a meeting and privately solve that problem.
Well, I would.
that would have been maybe the way I would have probably went.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know Chris Reynolds, the AD there, and I guess it was Dave Reynolds was the writer.
Writer for the Star.
But I know Chris. I played against Chris when he was at Indiana, and I'm not sure how that got sideways to the point where it became a national story, and that's probably the most unfortunate piece with that is hey,
it took away from the kids a little bit.
Yeah,
or the athletes.
And Bradley, toot our own horn here. We went into their place and we beat them this year. But they go and win the Missouri Valley basketball tournament, and they're going to the NCAA tournament. And actually, Chris is on the NCAA selection committee. And there's a lot of positive things around Bradley with the basketball tournament. And then this kind of gets brought into it. So that's the unfortunate part. But hopefully there's communication and there's a level of respect on both sides that everybody can be on the same page.
Can you give us an update on the spring sports? I know we're kind of getting. Well, they've got a good start so far in terms of games played, but the spring sports going on and what people can expect.
Yeah, I think one with the weather and sunshine being around this week, I think it kind of gets everybody juiced up about some of those sports with softball and baseball in particular. Tennis is getting going as well, and both baseball and softball had some road trips over spring break, and we're down south in a little bit warmer weather. And I think that if you talk to both Kim and Jason, respectively, they would say that the seasons aren't where they would necessarily like them to be. And I guess from a baseball perspective, first is you go down to Arkansas and you play pretty well. And then we've had a couple road trips here where we were at we were at Jacksonville State, opened the conference season last weekend, and really had a chance to get 2 out of 3 and didn't. And then this past weekend at Murray State, we had a chance to get 2 out of 3 and didn't again. So that's the hump. I think that you're competitive and things like that. It's still really early, but you're competitive in some ways, and now you got to figure out ways to win. And then in softball, I just met with Kim this morning. They played 10 games down in Florida. They went 5-5. The piece that she's trying to work through right now is just simply from the pitching perspective. And I think that when you lose 2 seniors that gobbled up a ton of innings last year on the mound in the circle, that takes its effect and trying to figure out those pieces, and then how can you put it all together and get hits when you need to and things like that. So it's I think we're still optimistic about both of those programs, where they're at and where we would like them to be come May. But now that the sun's shining and the weather's a little bit warmer,
does feel a little bit more like spring time.
Yeah. Hopefully they can get out, because
well, that's the unfair advantage that some of these teams in the South and even the West have. They're practicing outside in January, where we're throwing balls inside, and it's a difference. It is a big difference
for
in
sure.
baseball.
We've been out on the turf a little bit, but the sun's not been shining, and it's certainly been cold, and we're going to try to get out on the field. Softball hosts 4 games this weekend, so we've got to get the field in shape. It's got to get ready to go, and then baseball. I think they move their game tomorrow to Butler.
They're at Butler tomorrow. I know that.
Yeah. So that was supposed to be a home game, and we just weren't going to be ready for it here. So we moved that to Butler, and hopefully we'll be ready to go.
Let's move back to football again. Spring football game, and I know practice is tomorrow morning early, right?
Yeah. 5:45. They'll be getting after it.
Coach Cush likes the morning practices, doesn't he?
He does, and they've done that at Northwestern, and clearly thinks there's a huge advantage from a lot of different perspectives. Academically, he thinks it is getting the guys up and probably gets them to bed. I
think that might be a factor.
But just a nutrition standpoint and everything, some of the things we got in place, and we talked about that in the interview process, and it's hard to really debate the success that Pat and his staff have had up at Northwestern over the last 6-7 years, and again this year making it to the Big Ten championship game. So there's going to be a lot of things that are similar to the Northwestern program, I'm sure, that we have here, and one of those is practicing in the morning. But the kids have adjusted. They went through a 8 or 9 week conditioning program to start the semester off, and now tomorrow they'll be out on the field for the first time, and I know he's excited about it. I went on a donor trip with him last week, and I saw some of the assistant coaches, and they're fired up about getting on the field, and I know the kids are too.
The spring game is when? Is that are all those details out, I guess?
No, not completely. I think it's I think the last day of practice is around April 20th. I think that's a Saturday, but I'm not exactly sure what that format's going to be. We've got some pieces where we're thin at here in the spring, particularly at offensive line. And that was why in the recruiting piece, both lines were really, really a huge emphasis. And so when you're going through spring ball with a limited O lineman, it just makes it tough to how long you can go. And so to have an actual scrimmage may be pretty difficult. So I think they'll work that out to see how they continue to progress. They'll go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday mornings. And so we'll see how injuries and the health and.
Are you getting out there at 5:45?
I'm going to go out there tomorrow morning. I'll be out there tomorrow morning and see them getting after it. I don't get here quite at 5:45 in the morning. Get here early, but maybe not quite that early.
That's funny. When you talk about Tom Michael, athletic director at EIU, how do you set expectations when you're dealing with your coaches? I know everybody wants wins and championships, but I mean expectations. Where do you start with?
Yeah, and I think really in a lot of ways for us the wins are down the list a little bit. To be very candid, is I want to make sure that the experience that our student athletes are getting is something that's very, very positive. I want to make sure that obviously our kids we're bringing kids here that are great fits to EIU, certainly academically. We've got to make sure that we're bringing the right kids here that earn degrees from EIU, and then they've got to be great fits from a community standpoint. At some point in time, the wins and losses certainly come into play, Jeff. But the expectations are that we're bringing the right kids in here, and I really do believe this is if we've got the appropriate plan and we approach it in the right way, those things take care of themselves. It's when we just kind of go at things willy-nilly and fly by the seat of our pants, and some of those things is when we don't check all the correct boxes to say that's what allows us to be successful. So there's an integrity component to that I think encompasses more than just, hey, you got to follow the rules. It's how you treat people, whether that's the people that we interact with every day on campus, the folks that we interact with every once in a while on campus. It's certainly how we treat our student athletes. It's the community members. It's all those things that says integrity, and I hope that really is a pillar of what we're building the program on and continue to.
And you're probably learning a little bit as well. This is what you're completing your 5th year here at Eastern, I believe.
Yeah.
So what have you kind of learned and know that you've got that experience now behind you as we move forward?
I think it's, when I started in 2014, I knew I was ready for it. But when you sit down in that chair for the first time, and those are things that I try to really make sure I keep in mind when we hire first-time head coaches, is I believe Adam Cushing, for example, is ready to be a head coach, but he's never sat in that chair before, so there's a lot of things that are flying at him that says, holy smokes. And that's the way it was for me in 2014. And so now I'm still learning every day. I've got mentors and advisors. I mentioned Jim Phillips as being one up at Northwestern that I talk to pretty frequently, just to make sure that I continue to learn and grow. And never going to know it all. And there's always seems to be a curveball that comes in. I think that's what college athletics. What's your typical day about? My door's open and I've got an open door policy, and I don't know what problems coming in from day to day, and trying to solve those problems and ultimately the decisions that we come up with to make that student athlete experience better is what really fuels all of our decision making processes.
Let's talk a little bit about the OVC as we kind of, it's not really wrapping up a year, but a lot of people think football and basketball, then when that kind of is a little bit towards the end. Any changes in the OVC coming up, or any rule changes or things they're thinking about tinkering with scheduling, or anything that the fan would love to know?
No, I don't think so. I think that, we're finished our second year in terms of the OVC being played at Evansville. I went over there for the championship game to watch Murray and Belmont play. There were 10,500 people there, and Murray had 90% of the arena, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Belmont had one section and it wasn't completely filled, and Murray had every other section in the building. So I think the challenge becomes is if Murray's not involved in that championship game, what does it look like?
Yeah.
If EIU is there, what kind of support and following would we have at Evansville when it's 2 hours and 45 minutes away? And a lot of other institutions can say that. So Evansville has worked out great. I think it's a much better situation than what it was when we were in Nashville. The Ford Center is unbelievable. I think I would anticipate us staying there, but that's a piece that will be coming up, I think, in our spring meetings, particularly. Baseball, our championship for our baseball is going to be in Marion this year. And so it had been down at Oxford, Alabama, the last couple years, and last year we made it, and so we win the series at Austin Peay. We qualify for the tournament. We head down to Oxford, an 8.5-hour bus ride. We play one game, we get beat, and we come back. And my concern with Oxford is an unbelievable facility, and that's where softball is at too, but it's still in our footprint with Jacksonville State, but it's really not. And Marion fits for a lot of ways. Is there's about 5 or 6 teams that are just a couple 3 hours away from Marion.
It's a heck of a place to play too.
Yes, yeah. So I'm excited about that piece, and I think it's just we're always looking. Part of it, I mentioned that with the OVC, we're always looking at ways that we can enhance our revenue stream from the conference perspective. That was with the ESPN Plus contract that we signed with them. It just generated dollars for us, and the OVC network was great. It served its purpose and did a lot of things for us, but the money that was going to be involved with ESPN with that just almost made it a no-brainer for us. And I think that if anybody really was paying attention and following, I think that relationship with ESPN really helped the Ja Morant story at Murray State. They pushed it out as hard as any entity, and I think that they helped, not that Ja's not a great player, but they helped boost his notoriety around the country just because they got behind him, and small school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and they've helped push him up. And granted, he's averaged.
Hopefully Jay's not listening, but his dunk on Eastern, it's still being played on ESPN every 5 minutes, it seems like.
Yes, it is.
Sorry,
it
Jay. Love you, buddy.
Yes, and a player or two seems to be in that frame with them. Yeah, we're not going to mention any names.
One time, I hope somebody's not listening right now.
Yeah, but no, I think that the ESPN relationship helped the Ja Morant story too. So some good things.
Got a couple minutes left. Let's take another direction. Coach Henson, I saw him. He was up there at the university. Did you get to talk to Coach Henson much? And is he doing as well as he can be doing right now?
I think that's about the appropriate way to describe it. He's doing as well as he can be. I think Coach is 86, I think, and over the holidays he was in the hospital, and I stay in contact with Mark Coombs, who was an assistant coach for Illinois when I played, and stay in contact with Mark quite a bit, and Mary Henson is Mark's aunt, and so Coach is his uncle too. But I know that there were times this winter when didn't know if Coach was going to make it. I mean, he's a warrior. The last 15 years have not been good years in terms of he's had a lot of things to battle through with the health-wise, and he just refuses to quit, and I hope that's what people remember about his teams. The teams that I played on is we battled and competed and didn't always win all the games, or maybe as many games as what everybody would like, but I hope nobody felt like they ever got shortchanged when they were
He was a big inspiration for you. That's why I wanted to talk to him just for a minute.
Yeah, no, it's those, and that's why I'm in the business, is because of the experience that I had as a student athlete, and I know how impactful that 4 or 5 year period can be for young individuals. I've got a son that just finished playing college basketball, wrapped up this year. I've got a daughter that's here playing. I mean, it's important time period, and their coaches can have an impact, as Coach Henson had for me.
There you go. Very well said. We're out of time. We've been talking to EIU Director of Athletics, Mr. Tom Michael. Tom, appreciate you coming in. Real quick, give us about a 15-second April 6th spring fling information.
Yeah, it's Be Inspired, and as you said, it's April 6th. The event opens at 6 p.m. Doors will open at 5:30. April 6th in Lance Gym. Going to be a great event. Love to see everybody out there.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you coming in. Best of luck to the EIU Panthers and EIU Athletics.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Everybody have a great day. This is WEIU.